I recall as a young researcher at Brunel University, just starting their career, I was perusing the titles of past HESG meetings that we'd been sent, and an article struck my eye by Alistair Gray at Oxford. So I wrote to Alistair, as we did back then, a letter. And by return of post, and considerably quicker than I now reply to some of my emails, Alistair replied with a copy of his paper and with well wishes for my research without pointing out that I'd managed to spell Alistair incorrectly. A few years later, Alistair advertised a job funded by the HTA methodology programme to examine uncertainty in costing studies. My PhD progress at Brunel had stalled, and this was an opportunity I was looking for to kickstart my PhD and get back to some methodological work. Although initially based at the Centre for Socio-Legal Studies at Wolfson College, Alistair described his plan to move to the Department of Public Health and start a health economics centre. I would love to be able to claim that I was Alistair's first hire for the fledgling HERC, but when I arrived in post, I found I was sharing a room with a part-time Greek researcher, Nikos, who was working with Alistair while also completing a PhD at the Warwick Business School. We were soon joined by another Greek, Maria, and so when HERC finally came into being and moved out of the city centre and up to Headington Hill to the Churchill Hospital campus and into the newly refurbished Health Authority building, later to be renamed the Rosemary Rue building, I was the only Englishman in the small but already multicultural HERC. Perhaps my love affair with Greece can be traced back to these early days.
The college that I was attached to, Nuffield College, felt that real economists shouldn't allow their theories to be tainted by real world data. So they wouldn't classify me as an economics DPhil student and instead called me a student in multidisciplinary studies. Needless to say, Alistair never suffered any of these illusions of theoretical economic grandeur and was incredibly thoughtful and universally supportive throughout my DPhil.
Hi, happy anniversary to everyone at HERC. I'm Rosa. I did my PhD at Oxford with Alistair and Jane on cervical cancer screening in India and the UK. My first job after leaving HERC was to go to London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, where I'm still there as I'm now an associate professor. My research partly involves still on cervical cancer screening and now in vulnerable women in the EU. I just started a project on that. And I'm also doing work on genetic testing for ovarian and endometrial cancer.
When I think of Oxford, there are quite a few places that come to mind. College, department, of course, but I would first say the Oxford Union, actually. I think it was such a privilege to be able to attend these events that they organize there. I have wonderful memories of speaker events and great debates that I could attend. And I felt very lucky at the time to be able to attend those. So I can only highly recommend current students to sign up for it if they haven't done so yet.
My first job after graduating from HERC was as a health economist working for a large consultancy firm in Washington, D.C. called the Research Triangle Institute. There I work on evaluations for the Centers for Medicare, Medicaid Services and for the CDC. While my work was primarily US based, I also had the opportunity to work with large multinational organizations like the WHO and UNDP, primarily to investigate chronic conditions, direct and indirect costs and returns on investments of prevention interventions in countries like Colombia, Sri Lanka, and Peru.
So my first job after my DPhil and also my current job is where I work as a health economist for the National Institute of Health and Care Excellence, or NICE as we are commonly known. My current job involves developing cost effectiveness models across various disease areas, presenting my work in decision-making committee meetings, and using the results from my work along with input from committee members in these meetings to inform clinical guidelines.
So I learned a great deal in my time in Oxford. In a practical sense, I gained experience working with many different types of data, including from clinical trials, from large cohort studies like the Million Women Study and the UK Biobank, and also routine primary and secondary care data. But more than that, I learned about the importance of different data sets for answering different research questions, and also of high quality, rigorous research.
I do use the skills I developed during my time in Oxford on a day-to-day basis, both the technical skills I developed in terms of cost effectiveness modeling, evidence synthesis, and data analysis, which directly feeds into my current work, but also the skills I have developed in relating health economic work to audiences of varying areas of expertise, which is very important when presenting your work decision-making committees in my current role.
If I had one tip for current HERC students, that would be to enjoy the parks and rivers and all the wonderful greenery that Oxford has to offer. Because if you're a HERC student, I know you're already curious and hardworking, and perhaps you have to remind yourselves every now and then to have also some fun and enjoy the life outside the department.
So if I had one tip for current students, it would be not to get too caught up in your own research and team, but to take advantage of the huge and diverse work going on across both NDBH and the Big Data Institute, and probably beyond. So attend seminars, research clubs, speak to people, whatever. You never know what you might learn, but you'll surely learn something important.